Story. She thought I'd beg. I had paperwork ready. She was halfway through tying her shoelaces when I said it, and I said it slowly, so every single syllable would land. Go ahead. Walk out that door. But if you do, this marriage is done. Don't even think about coming back. She froze, one knee on the bench, fingers wrapped around the laces, like they'd turned to wire. Her head didn't move, just her eyes, lifting, locking onto mine, shocked, offended, calculating. The silence stretched between us, like a rope pulled too tight. Then came the laugh, soft, arrogant, the kind of laugh people give when they think they've already won. Don't be dramatic, she muttered, standing up, brushing invisible dust from her jeans, like I wasn't even worth a full sentence. It's just a trip, just a trip. That phrase again, always a trip, a getaway, a recharge, like our marriage was a dead phone, and she needed someone else to plug her back in. Last time it was Tampa. Before that, Vegas. Before that, a lake house out near Finger Lakes, New York, that somehow had no Wi-Fi, no photos, and suspiciously zero cell service. This time, Charlotte, North Carolina. Just the girls. Sure, but something already felt different. The moment I looked at the bag by the door, not her usual weekend duffel. No, this was her sleek black overnight case. The one she pulled out only when she wanted to look expensive. And on top of it, a gift bag. Gold foil, black ribbon. That gift wasn't for me. I knew it. I didn't ask. I'd stopped asking about 3 trips ago. Instead, I leaned against the doorframe, watching her adjust her necklace in the hallway mirror. A necklace I'd never seen before, never given her, and I stood there wondering how many lies it takes to fill a single quiet Sunday morning. Before the whole thing collapses, under its own weight, she grabbed her keys. "You're really doing this?" she asked, turning to face me for the first time all morning, actually giving me her eyes. After everything we've been through? I looked at her for a long moment. "No, you already did," she scoffed, shook her head like I was the unreasonable one in the room. And then, she walked out. I didn't follow. I didn't slam anything. Didn't text her. Didn't beg. Didn't ask who he was. I just stood at the window and watched through the blinds as her rideshare pulled up. A black Suburban. The driver got out, opened the trunk, smiled at her, like they'd done this before. She laughed, tossed her bag in, kept the gold gift bag in her hand. And just before she slid into the back seat, she paused, turned, looked directly at the house, at the window, at me. I didn't flinch, didn't wave. She got in. The door shut. The car pulled away. That was yesterday. And this morning, I found the thing that changed everything. It was under the couch cushion. Small, flat, shiny. I almost didn't pick it up. My first thought was a hotel key card. The cheap plasticky kind they give you at motels. But when I flipped it over, my stomach dropped. It wasn't a key card. It was an access badge. Not a standard employee ID either. This was one of those sleek corporate security badges. Glossy black background, white font, QR code, and a photo of a man I had never seen in my life, smirking. The kind of smirk that says, "I just got away with something." Name,
Derek R. Callaway.
position, Director of Sales Operations. Company, Nexvera Systems. Out of Charlotte, North Carolina. She hadn't left her own badge behind. She'd left his. I sat down slowly on the edge of the couch. My heart was doing something I didn't like. Derek Callaway. I turned the name over. I'd heard it exactly once, maybe twice months ago. Someone she'd collaborated with on a rebranding campaign. She'd dropped his name so casually at dinner one night, like he was just another face on a Zoom screen. I hadn't thought anything of it, because that's who I was back then. Trusting, patient, willfully blind. I set the badge on the coffee table and stared at it, like it might confess if I waited long enough. Didn't. It just sat there, smug in its silence, daring me to dig deeper. I should have thrown it in the trash. Should have taken the dog for a walk and let it go. But I didn't. Something had shifted the moment I said those words at the door. The moment she smirked like I was bluffing. So I sat down at the desk and typed in the company name, Nexvera Systems, clean website, polished design, cybersecurity and cloud services. I went to their about page, found the leadership team, and there he was.
Derek R. Callaway.
Sharp jaw, expensive blazer, LinkedIn link practically glowing with confidence. I clicked through to his profile. He had posted a photo, 25 minutes earlier. Rooftop bar, Harrington Grand Hotel, downtown Charlotte. 2 wine glasses on a stone railing. A pair of sunglasses sitting between them. Caption: productive weekends make for unforgettable memories. My jaw tightened so hard I felt it in my ears. Because those sunglasses, oversized tortoiseshell frames, a tiny chip on the lower right corner. I'd bought them for her last spring. She said she needed something elegant for a bridal brunch. I remember standing in the boutique for 20 minutes, making sure they were right. She was there, right now. Not walking trails with girlfriends. Not eating tapas and sipping rose with the crew. She was on a rooftop in Charlotte, with Derek Callaway, wearing a smile I used to see on Sunday mornings. And I was sitting alone in our house, in yesterday's clothes, trying to remember the last time she looked at me, without looking away. I should have been furious, but instead, I felt numb, that hollow underwater kind of numb, where everything outside sounds muffled and far away. I started running through timelines. How long had this been going on? Were the business trips even real? How many times had I told myself I was overthinking it? I thought about the dinner 2 weeks earlier. Her phone buzzing on the table. Her fingers swiping it face down before I could blink. Work, she said. You wouldn't understand. I thought about the night she came home at 2 a.m., smelling like peppermint and someone else's cologne. Ray had a crisis, she said. I lost track of time. I thought about every locked screen, every eye roll when I said, I miss us, every moment I chose to believe her, because the alternative was too painful to sit with. And then something pulled me upstairs. Her nightstand drawer. I hadn't opened it in over a year. I don't know what I expected to find. Old receipts, hair ties, something harmless. That would let me feel wrong about all of this. I knelt beside it and pulled it open. Too organized. Lip balm, a notepad, a pen, a silk scarf I'd never seen, and beneath the scarf, a folded piece of paper, crisp creases, no label. I unfolded it, and my hands started shaking. It wasn't a letter. It was a printed confirmation, a rental property, a coastal cottage outside of Wilmington, North Carolina. 2 adults. For nights. Romantic seclusion guaranteed. And the names at the bottom, Lauren Brennan and
Derek R. Callaway.
check in this Friday. That was 5 days away. 5 days. Which meant that even as she was packing that black bag last night, even as she stood at our front door, adjusting that necklace I'd never seen before, she already had this place locked in. With him. I stayed there kneeling on the floor for a long time, staring at those dates. It didn't make me angry. Not yet. It made me, still, quiet in the way you get when you realize something terrible has been true for a long time. And you've just been the last to know. She wasn't confused. She wasn't searching. She was planning a whole second life, quietly constructed alongside ours. And I was the backdrop, the steady, predictable, convenient backdrop. I folded the confirmation into a perfect square and slipped it into my shirt pocket. Then I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and just stood there, watching the condensation crawl down the glass. Every sound in that house felt staged. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock above the stove, like I was standing on the set of my own life. That's when something else pulled at me. Our shared family group chat. I scrolled back 3 weeks and found it. A photo posted by Jessie. A rooftop somewhere. All 4 women laughing into the camera. But in the mirror behind them, Lauren's reflection. And beside her, barely visible, a man. His hand at her waist. Head tilted toward her neck. Blurry. Unmistakable. And taken in Charlotte. The same city she was in right now. Which meant this wasn't a first. They had a routine. A system. I dug further. His Facebook profile. Mostly locked down. But his friends list wasn't private. Third from the top. Lauren Brennan. One photo on her page stopped me cold. A wine glass on a balcony overlooking the ocean. A man's shoulder blurry in the corner. Uploaded on a Monday. 3 months ago. The same Monday she told me she had a 10-hour training seminar. And wouldn't be home until dark. I'd made dinner. And left it covered on the stove. My body had figured out something my mind was still fighting. And then my phone buzzed. Quiet. Almost polite. A notification from our home security system. Motion detected. Front porch camera. I tapped the alert. And there she was. Lauren. Back early. Luggage in hand. Eyes scanning the front of the house. Like she was reading a situation. Before walking into it, I was already at the door. I stepped back into the shadow of the hallway. Beside the coat rack. I'm not proud of that instinct. But I needed to see her face before she saw mine. Needed to know if she'd walk through that door carrying guilt. Or nothing at all. She opened the door slowly. Carefully. Her eyes moved across the foyer. The couch. The stillness. She exhaled. Relief. And that exhale hit me harder than anything she could have said. Because it meant. She'd hoped I wasn't home. She stepped inside. 2 heels on the hardwood. Then she stopped. The rental confirmation was on the entryway table. Folded. Centered. Intentional. Her body locked up. Like every muscle had fired at once. She stared at it and didn't move. Didn't call out. Didn't breathe. I found it, I said quietly, stepping out from the hallway. She spun around so fast she dropped her purse. It hit the floor hard. Heavy. Not makeup and gum heavy. Something else entirely. Her mouth opened. Searched for words. Closed again. It's not what you think. She started. Stop. My voice didn't sound like mine. Steadier. Hollower. Like I was borrowing composure from someone I used to be. I wasn't going to go, she said quickly. I hadn't decided. I needed space to think. I pointed at the confirmation. That's a $2,300 decision, Lauren. Non refundable. That's not thinking. That's planning. The tears came fast. She covered her mouth. Sagged against the wall. I messed up, she whispered. I was confused. I didn't know how to talk to you about it. I looked at her steadily. You didn't talk. You booked a cottage and printed a confirmation. There's a difference. She slid down the wall to the floor. I told him I wasn't sure yet. I swear. I walked to the coffee table and held up the badge I'd found that morning. Derek dropped this. Must have slipped out of your bag. During one of the trips you weren't supposed to be taking. She didn't reach for it. Didn't deny it. Just buried her face in her hands. How long? She didn't answer. Every trip. Lauren. Every girl's weekend. Nothing. Why? And I wasn't even sure what I was asking. Why him? Why this? Why not just tell me? She finally looked up. Mascara running. Hands trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen. He saw me.
I sterte her.
So did I. She flinched. Every night and every morning. And every boring Tuesday. When you came home tired and didn't want to talk. I saw you. I stayed. You stopped trying. She shot back. Sharper now. You stopped seeing me as a person. I felt invisible. I didn't respond immediately. Because maybe she wasn't entirely wrong about that. Maybe I had faded. Grown comfortable. Grown quiet. Grown predictable. But I had never left. never lied, never handed her love to someone else, like it was optional. You could have told me you were unhappy, I said. Instead, you fed that unhappiness to someone else. She stood slowly, shaking. What are you going to do? And I saw it in her eyes. She still thought I might break, that I'd collapse back into the old version of myself. The one who would smooth it over, to keep the house quiet, and the marriage technically intact. I walked to the front door and opened it. What are you doing? She asked. Giving you what you wanted. She looked terrified. But I was done, mistaking her fear for my responsibility. She started toward me, hands out. Can we just sit down? Please, talk like we used to. The irony landed like a stone. Like we used to, before the lies. Or somewhere between the second and third hotel. Her face crumpled completely. I kept my voice level. You didn't lose this marriage by accident. You protected something else. More than you protected this. That was a choice. Every single time. I walked to the den. Under the cabinet. A small fire safe. I entered the code. Clicked open. Inside, a manila envelope. The one I'd prepared the night before. After I'd watched her car pull away. And the house had gone completely silent. I carried it back into the living room. Her eyes locked on it immediately. What is that? A separation agreement. I had it reviewed already. Nothing vicious in it. Just clean terms. The savings are untouched. I'm not interested in making this uglier than it already is. She stared at the envelope, like it might disappear if she didn't look directly at it. You can take the weekend, I added, but Monday I'm filing. If you agree to what's in there, we sign and move forward like adults. If not, mediation. She opened the flap, scanned the first paragraph. Her voice cracked. You already printed this. You planned this. I planned it the moment you walked out the door without your ring. I just needed confirmation. The silence between us had changed. It wasn't the silence of a standoff anymore. It was the silence of something. Ending. I don't know where I go from here, she whispered. That makes two of us. But I know I'm not going back. She closed her eyes. I didn't think you'd actually let me go. You left yourself, I said. I just finally caught up. I didn't throw her out. I'm not that person. But I went upstairs, packed an overnight bag, and left the house without another word. I needed distance. Not from grief, I'd had enough of that already, but from the person who had chosen someone else, while letting me believe I was still her home. I drove 20 miles outside of Charlotte and checked into a motel. No view, no champagne, just a quiet room with thin walls and a fridge that hummed too loud. And for the first time in a very long time, I fell asleep without dreaming of her. What I didn't know was that the next morning, everything was about to collapse, all over again. I woke up to 12 missed calls, all from Lauren, spread between 1 a.m. and 4:40 in the morning. That window alone made something cold slide down my spine. I opened the texts. The first few were the apologies and fragments I expected. But halfway through the thread, the tone shifted completely. Short, strange. Urgent. Did you do this? Where is my work laptop? I need to talk to you before they do. Before who? I called her back. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. Then my email pinged. A security alert from our bank. Unusual login attempt. From an IP address in Raleigh, North Carolina. 3 hours east of Charlotte. I hadn't been to Raleigh in years. Neither had Lauren. But Derek Calloway. He had. I logged in. 2 failed login attempts. 1 successful access. And then the one line that made my chest go hollow. Funds transferred. $12,800. Gone. To an account labeled MW Consulting. The recipient address matched a co-working suite in downtown Raleigh. The exact address listed on Derek Calloway's LinkedIn, under his consulting side projects. She hadn't just brought him into our bed. She'd left the door wide open to our finances. Lauren picked up on the third call. Her voice was frantic, stripped of everything except fear. I didn't authorize that. I swear to God. He used my laptop last week when his crashed. I logged in and he must have saved the credentials. I kept my voice flat. You let him use the laptop. Connected to our joint account. Silence. I wasn't thinking. No, you weren't. And now $12,000 is gone. I drove to the police station that morning. Detective Marcus Webb. Calm. Methodical. The kind of officer who'd heard this story in 100 variations. I laid everything out. The transfers. The IP address. Calloway's Raleigh address. The timeline. He listened. Flipped through my printed bank records. Then looked up at me. Mr. Brennan, he said, this potentially goes beyond domestic issues. We're looking at wire fraud. Unauthorized account access. Guys like this, they don't do it once. They find stable targets. Good credit, predictable income, someone trusting. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I drove back to the house slowly. When I pulled into the driveway, something was wrong. Lauren's car was gone. Inside, the lights were off. Upstairs, the closet doors hung open. Drawers half emptied. A note on the dresser. My name on it. Rushed. Slanted. I stood and looked at it for a long time before picking it up. When I finally read it, it was short. She said she couldn't sit and wait. For the bank and the police and me. To tell her what she already knew. She said she was sorry. She said I was right. She said she'd be in touch. I'll be in touch. I checked the fire safe. Locked. Documents intact. But the key to our secondary safe deposit box. Missing. Wedding photos. My grandfather's cufflinks. A USB drive with our first dance. I called the bank immediately. The clerk hesitated. Actually, Mr. Brennan. Someone accessed it earlier this morning. A woman. She came in with a man presenting your ID. My stomach dropped entirely. I didn't authorize anyone. They promised a review. But whatever had been inside that box was already gone. The next 3 weeks passed like slow rain. Not storms. Just gray, steady, relentless quiet. I didn't hear from Lauren. The bank completed their investigation. Forged ID. Duplicate key. Derek Calloway had used Lauren to map our life. Our accounts. Our routines. Our vulnerabilities. And then walked through every open door. She'd left for him. One morning, 3 weeks later. A letter in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, a single handwritten page. Lauren's looping cursive.
No apology.
No defense. Just one paragraph. She said she'd left the USB drive. And my grandfather's cufflinks. At the mailbox behind St. Vincent's Chapel. On Berkshire Road. That she didn't deserve forgiveness. But she wanted me to have that part of my past back. That was all. I drove there that evening. The old stone mailbox. Still standing behind the chapel wall. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper. The flash drive. The cufflinks. Slightly tarnished. Intact. I sat in the car for a long time. With the windows down. Holding them in my palm. The sun dropped below the horizon. I didn't call her. I didn't cry. It wasn't closure. Not really. But it was enough. Months passed. I started walking again. Cooking real meals. Talking to my sister. Who I'd let drift too far. During the years I'd been so focused. On keeping a marriage alive. That was quietly dying anyway. I got a dog. A shepherd mix with a ridiculous amount of energy. And a snore that rattles the bedroom walls. I named her Rosie. She's loyal in the way that only dogs are. Completely. And without condition. One afternoon at the grocery store, I dropped a bag of apples in the parking lot. And apologized approximately 6 times. To the woman whose cart I'd cut off. She laughed. We ended up talking for 15 minutes. And then grabbed coffee across the street. Her name's Dana. She works in city planning. She's dry-humored and sharp. And she actually listens when I talk. Nothing serious yet. But there's something in the way she looks at me. like I'm worth paying attention to. And after everything, that alone feels like a beginning. I didn't know I was ready for. I don't think pain disappears. I think it becomes part of you, changes shape, loses its sharpness over time. Not a wound anymore, a scar. And scars mean you survived. My wife left me. She walked out that door, thinking I'd chase her, that I'd fold. Instead, I stood still, and in standing still, I found the version of myself I thought I'd lost somewhere. In the years of being quietly, willingly, invisible, I found him, and that's what she didn't take. That's what no one can take. And that's more than enough.